Let's get more now on US President Donald Trump calling on other countries to send warships to the Strait of Hormuz. Jared Mondschein is the Director of Research at the United States Studies Centre and he joins me now. Jared, welcome. Thanks for joining us. Just why is Donald Trump asking allies for help with the war now?
When oil is now over $100 a barrel, and when 20% of all oil goes through the Strait of Hormuz, President Trump thinks it is a global responsibility to open it back up. At the same time, it's not even clear that the United States has the military capability of opening up the Strait of Hormuz unilaterally. This is another instance where the U.S. may very well be the most powerful military in the world, but it does not have primacy. And what Iran is doing is basically leveraging its asymmetrical advantages over the United States. It just takes a couple drones, it just takes a couple attacks here and there, and all of a sudden that completely destabilizes and stops all flows of oil in this region. So as a result, the United States is hoping, and President Trump in particular, after first denying any need for allies, is now hoping that allies and partners, including Korea, Japan, China, France, and the UK, will come to the table and actually take some of the burden of opening up this critical pathway for the oil markets.
Do you think Donald Trump could foresee just how bad the situation around the Strait of Hormuz could get?
That's a great question. According to reports, the military very much did say that this was a possibility. And it seems that, again, according to reports, that Donald Trump thought that the U.S. military might over Iran would actually overwhelm any possibility of this occurring. With that all said, this sort of circumstance should not have been a surprise to anyone. The U.S. military, like so many militaries around the world, do all sorts of drills and exercises, including for a contingency in the Middle East. You've probably heard about contingencies in the Indo-Pacific, especially around Taiwan or the South China Sea. But in the Middle East, the Strait of Hormuz is probably one of the most sensitive areas to any contingency. And what do I mean by that is that it is many have expected that Iran would take this sort of pathway if any attack on Iran were to occur. And reportedly, the U.S. military said as much, but again, Donald Trump did not think that Iran would actually go ahead with this, and instead, he thought that the U.S. would actually overwhelm them to such an extent that it wouldn't be possible. As a result, what many military experts would have predicted would happen did happen, and now the U.S. in many ways is playing catch-up.
How is the Middle East war being viewed in the U.S. by the public right now?
Right now, I think a good barometer of what you think of the U.S. strikes in Iran is what you think of Donald Trump. Unlike prior U.S. actions in the Middle East, most notably the Iraq War and Afghanistan, the U.S. president at during the Bush administration had a pretty high approval rating and a pretty sizable majority of the population supporting his attacks, the U.S. attacks on Iraq and Afghanistan, with U.S. popular support being in the 70s to 90s. In this instance, the majority of the U.S. is not supportive of this. With that said, I have to wonder if Donald Trump had taken the effort to actually bring the American people along for the ride, basically rhetorically articulate why this was necessary and explain the need for it, I think there could have been a chance that he would have gotten greater approval. But on the whole, you see a majority of Americans not in support of this. With that said, you see the MAGA base, those who self-describe and self-identify as MAGA, as being supportive of this. And some 90% of self-identified MAGA voters support this. With that said, the broader Republican coalition and those who voted for Trump in 2024 are not as warm. And that looks to be about a 55% approval rating amongst those who voted for him in 2024.